of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
No, I'm just, oh, it gets warmer when it's open?
Always warmer than it is.
Okay. We have a heat problem in the town of Poughkeepsie. Yes. For those people who may be here for number 3 Rosewood subdivision, if anyone's here for that, that's off the agenda this evening. The applicant's asked to be removed from the agenda. So if anyone's here for the Rosewoods subdivision pre-application discussion, that will not be, there'll be no discussion on it this evening. Okay? Okay, that didn't clear the room. Okay. Now, let's see, application number 1, a public hearing, our first public hearing of the evening, and our only one, actually. Arlington Farms, Malabar Realty LLC, site plan hearing for proposed demolition of the existing structures on the site and the construction of a one-story gas station convenience store, 4,500 square feet, and a gas canopy and 6 gas pumps, 798 Dutchess Turnpike, zoned BH Highway Business, .81 acres. It's a non-listed action, Malabar Realty LLC owner. Is the applicant here?
Yes. My name is Rich Tompkins from Maury Architects.
Okay, welcome. Okay, Eric?
Sure. Rich, did you want to give the board a little presentation or update on the current submittal?
Yeah, we submitted a revised plan actually this afternoon, which is what I have here.
Chairman, I can't hear.
We submitted a revised plan this afternoon.
better?
Well, I have my secondary hearing aid on. My primary one went to the repair shop today, so I'm going to just ask everybody to speak up a little just to accommodate that circumstance.
So it was just a minor revision to include 2 vacuum/air filling stations. They're on the northeast corner of the property.
Okay, we're listening. That was it?
That was the extent of the revision.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm looking for some, I'm drowning in paper here, so you bear with me.
The one other thing that I also wanted to review this evening was the architectural review. I do have a color rendering with material samples as well.
Okay, well, we're probably not going to get to that this evening because, you know, hopefully we'll get through secret this evening. We'll have to defer the site plan discussions until the zoning board of appeals has been satisfied.
Could we at least just review and maybe make any comments that we could, you know, revise the elevation?
I'd recommend that we'd work through some of the site plan review first
Sure.
and see where we are with the site plan, and then if you want to ask the chairman if there's time
Sure,
for
absolutely.
some to just discuss the architecture, then you could do it then.
Okay.
Okay, Eric.
Sure. Staff for this item are recommending that we believe that the application is ready for a secret determination of if the subject to any comments or discussion as a result of the public hearing and review of the comments received. And if the planning board agrees with that and wants to consider site plan approval, we are recommending that the planning board, we're changing the written recommendation we provided to you earlier, and we're suggesting that the planning board defer conditional site plan approval pending action by the zoning board of appeals on special use permits, which are anticipated to go to the ZBA in March. As far as some of the issues, you have our written comments. Couple of highlights. A lot of the applicants addressed a lot of the issues. The Department of Transportation, they recently gave you a letter indicating that the modifications to the curb cuts and the design proposed in the right-of-way are generally appear to be conceptually acceptable. We did have a staff meeting with them. They with regard to the no left turn restriction that was discussed at the Overrocker Road Route 44 intersection. They recommended that request, if there was interest in it, come from the town board. We did hear from the police department. I'm sorry, they also indicated that that would initiate a review of traffic safety at that intersection to see if it was warranted. The police, I've been told that the police department reported a total of 1 accident.
Right, I have the report
Intersection.
here from the police department,
Yes.
and there was a total of 1 accident. It was a side swipe from 2012 through yesterday. So there was 1 accident at that intersection, 2012 through yesterday.
So staff thinks that it probably doesn't warrant a no left turn at that intersection, and reportedly the highway superintendent is reasonably comfortable with that analysis. Otherwise, you have our comments with respect to the plans. There's some follow-up to do.
Okay,
Those are our comments.
Thank
And
you.
I think the engineer may have
Don?
something.
We have a few remaining comments, some about the drainage, and I was going to just ask the applicant what their status is with removal of the soil from the site. Can you tell us where you are with the removal of the soil? It's been piled there for 2 or 3 months.
That's only because of the weather, the contractor can't do anything now. Maybe once we are above the freezing level, we will be back in work.
You have the test results back that confirm that you've removed everything that needs to be removed?
Not exactly, because we haven't removed the soil from our property, right? Even though we excavated from our property, it still remain like maybe around.
And you, I'm sorry, may I interrupt. You need to identify yourself. Your
I'm
name?
Lajan. I'm representing Malabar Realty. I'm the owner.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Okay.
So you got to remove the soil because of the contamination, correct?
Excuse me?
It's being remediated because of the possible contamination?
Yeah, I just wanted to
there was
make
a
sure
spill.
that they had the test results that showed that they had gotten it all dug out of the hole correctly, and it sounds like they have that.
Right. So it
It
sounds like we
just-
don't have that information yet.
Do you know if you have that?
Just before the last meeting, we had received approval from DOT to remove a tank that's in DOT right away.
It's
So
been
that
done
hasn't-
like,
that
It hasn't been done yet?
No.
Okay, and the soil is too frozen to get out of there, so they have to wait until the thaw?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay.
Don, I understand you received the letter from the DEC and the signed stipulation that makes the remediation subject to DEC oversight, according to the stipulation.
That was it, Mr. Chairman?
Thank you. It's a public hearing. Do I hear a motion?
So moved. Second.
It's moved and second. Open the public hearing. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. I have 3 people who have signed up to speak on this application. First one is John Adams.
There used to be a microphone here, Mr. Chairman.
Ah,
Dispense with it?
now you can't get away that easy.
I'm not sure it's on.
It may not fit in there. You may have to hold it.
It was designed to hold something to that width. Okay, I think that might work if this is picking anything up. I
Is
don't
that
think it
on?
Just make sure the switch is on.
That's the way I like to- Thank you. Mr. Chairman, my name is John Adams. I represent Gasland Petroleum Corp., one of the adjacent property owners. And I have previously submitted to you last week a letter dated February 17th, by which I ask you to adjourn the public hearing this evening because the site plan that you're considering is one in which I believe, in my legal opinion, you have absolutely no jurisdiction to consider at this point in time. You have no jurisdiction to consider this site plan because there is no as-of-right element to the site plan. There's so many variances being sought that go to the very heart of what is trying to be accomplished on this site, that until the zoning board acts on all those variances, it's totally speculative as to what is going to happen with this application. Therefore, I think it's premature for you to act on this thing. And I would ask, at a bare minimum, if you choose not to adjourn the public hearing, I would ask that you continue the public hearing until after the zoning board proceedings, so that the public has a full opportunity to speak on this project as it's finally determined to be after that deliberative process by the zoning board. I appreciate the fact that the zoning board meeting that was supposed to be held 2 weeks ago wasn't held, and this whole meeting was probably done in anticipation zoning board would have taken some action previously. Well, that didn't happen. So I can be very brief this evening if you can assure me that as to the substance of the site plan, you will continue the public hearing. I understand you may have to go forward on the secret portion simply because of the coordinated review, and I'm not commenting on that. But I would ask for some assurance that to accommodate full public discussion on the site plan as it's ultimately determined to be after the zoning board deliberations, and there are a host of legal issues on that Mr. Olson's going to get into when he speaks. And by the way, Rich Olson is sitting here. He represents different property owners. We have a common objective here. And I might even ask him to come up and join me right now with your permission.
Well, he signed up, he's signed up to speak.
Okay.
But to your point, the answer
Well,
is,
we have-
the answer is yes.
You're going to continue the public hearing.
We're not going to close the public hearing.
Fine, then I will sit down and listen.
Okay,
Thank you.
you're welcome. Mr. Olson?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Richard Olson with the law firm of McCabe and Mack. I've been retained to represent Mr. and Mrs. Greaves, who are the owners of the property at 215 Over Rocker Road. This evening, I understand you may consider a seeker determination. I just wanted to raise a few issues with you. I've had an opportunity to go through the file. We're talking about removing a residential structure, bordering a residential property, and raising a commercial structure 15 feet off of that property line. I think the seeker issues that you need to address involve lighting, potential noise, odors, none of which I can find in the file. I didn't find any photometric studies sitting in the file. You're going to be raising a canopy, which is going to have approximately 2,500 square feet. The building is 15 feet off of the adjoining property line. There may be mechanical noise. I believe there should be some form of a noise study before you do any seeker determination. I don't know if the property is going to be doing any cooking, whether there'll be any form of odors emanating from the property. Again, it's bordering directly on a residential structure. Those are some of the seeker issues I believe you need to consider before you can move forward. As far as the zoning and site plan issues, it appears to me that you've missed at least one of the sections of the code, which I believe have to be considered, which is under 210-152A. They're asking for a variance from a 40-foot setback. However, under 210-35F, when you have a commercial property bordering a residential structure, you are referred to 210-152A2 under your code, which requires a 50-foot setback and a 25-foot permanently maintained landscape barrier. I don't see that as referenced in the application anywhere. Also, with reference to the 500-foot variance that they're asking under the code for the gasoline station to be near a residential structure, I believe, and I'm submitting tonight a memorandum, that that is a use variance. I don't believe that the zoning board can proceed under an area variance standard with regard to that setback. You're essentially asking the zoning board to eliminate the requirement that the town board put in law that said you cannot have a motor vehicle service facility within 500 feet of a residential dwelling in a residential district. So those are the issues that I'm raising with you tonight. I'm going to submit this for the board's consideration, and I know that you're going to be deferring the public hearing, but I also ask you to
Thank you. Roy Stengel? Stengel?
That is correct.
Hi.
Good evening. As an adjoining property owner at 217 Overocker Road, my name is Roy Stengel. Owner, I've been there for 20 years. I have two commercial properties adjoining my property. The town board put in a variance to allow a restaurant. This is not this gentleman, the other commercial property in back of me. My neighbors, due to the west winds, make a long story short, we smell food cooking all the time. There was a fish shop in there with 4 refrigeration condenser and compressors. He put in a sound baffle. I heard humming 24/7, 365 days a year for almost 2 years. Thank God he went out of business. They're no longer there. The previous owner of this property, we are in discussion tonight. It's 15-foot variance. My concern is I can't do anything on my property due to your laws. We have septic systems on that part of Overacker. We're not tied into the municipal supply septic. The tanks have to be 15 feet. Code is 15 feet from my house. This tank that's, excuse me one second. I have a small print here. The tank, 3,500, 4,500? I'd have to look on the bigger drawing. 1,500, or it's a big tank. I see it 5 feet off my property line.
Don't want the variance.
I like my property. I weed it with overgrown weeds 3-4 times a year during the summer. The leach fields and everything are just, it's just too darn close to my property line. If the building does go through, due to light and noise pollution, I would want a variance for a 10-foot fence, 15 feet from the road Overacker to the corner property line erected, at least a 10-foot fence. I have a lot of light pollution and noise. Biggest concern right here, folks, is the traffic. Nobody wants to make a left-hand turn. You can't make a left-hand turn. You can't. And the town is not going to put up another traffic light there. No way. A lot of people use our road as an access road, as a cut-through. My neighbors who are here tonight, who didn't sign up to speak, we endure, when we walk on the road, we take our lives into our own hands. We spoke to the police department several times. They never put up a speed trap. I said they could park right in my driveway. They don't. They put up a what's your speed kind of thing, and they recorded it. And they said, oh, everything's fine. Well, no, it's not. We have a speed shop that I have complained about, another commercial property. They have Corvettes, hot rods, and they test drive them up and down the road. And it really upsets me. No noise protection. I mean, getting back to that left turn, they're going to be coming out of that gas station. They're going to be making a right-hand turn. They're going to be going down Overacker all the way down, or they're going to be cutting Overlook up over the hill, down around the corner, and come out the other way. This shortcut is used every day, and they don't live there. By the permission of the previous owner, Mr. Marchese here, the town took down, when they widened the road, the town took down a nice maple tree that was on Mr. Marchese's property in the corner. It protected, it shaded me, and the lights, street lights, and the arc lights that other municipal buildings have from blinding me. That's been taken down by the town. I planted 2 red maple trees that are a couple of feet off the property line. I'd like to see those stay. Other than that, biggest concern is the EPA. Double wall tanks have to be installed, and the traffic is the biggest thing. My neighbor in back of me, the commercial property, he's been a nice gentleman, and I do have litter from time to time. The town also, to my not knowing, put up a concrete enclosure for a dumpster, and it's right on my property line. I have a retaining wall on the property line, and it upset me to no end. Every winter, when he plows, he breaks my fence. And there's 1.5 feet between the fence and the concrete, and I can't get to the screws to hold the barricade fence up. So, I'm a little disgruntled, not only with a few things on the plan, traffic, but to the town board also, because you allowed that structure. I called up the gentleman in zoning, and he said, nothing, just fell on deaf ears. Went in one ear, went right out the other. So for 20 years here, and I pay enough taxes, but the traffic also out of my driveway especially, I have a blind corner. The dumpster enclosure proposed is gonna block my view again. I asked the town highway department to put up a blind driveway sign. Not only myself, but my neighbor who is not here today, the Greaves residents that joined me, also, or I was almost T-boned half a dozen times living there, and excessive speed again. Right here is just way too close.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for letting me speak.
Thank you. I have a letter here to read into the record from a neighbor, Anthony and Louis Ferrari Jr., 220 Over Rocker Road, Poughkeepsie, dated 2/12/15. To the planning board, gentlemen, please be advised, as an adjacent property owner, we have no objection to the Malabar Realty LLC desire to improve existing conditions on the above captioned property, and requesting that every member of the planning board work with Malabar to ensure this project's timely, ultimate, and affordable completion. Please have this letter entered into the record and read at the planning board meeting scheduled for today, February 19th, 2015. Sincerely, Anthony Ferrari and Louis Ferrari Jr. Okay, so that's in the record. Okay, anyone else care to comment on this application? Okay, and not hearing anyone, I think we should adjourn to March.
Yeah, March, I believe it's March 19th, the regular meeting in March,
Regular meeting in March, right.
19th.
So moved.
So it's moved and seconded, we adjourn the public hearing till March 19th, 2015. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Okay, I'm going to go around the board, just comment, a lot of the things that were talked about are certainly issues that need to be discussed. I believe there are more site plan issues that will be taken care of and discussed during the site plan review, if and when that occurs, if the zoning, or if the ZBA does grant whatever variances and approvals they're looking for. And also, as far as the septics are concerned and that kind of thing, that's the Board of Health has to approve those plans and looks at all the different aspects of where they are and how far away they are and those kinds of things. So there's a lot of different agencies that will be involved in reviewing a lot of what goes on here should we get to the site plan phase. Right now, we're going to deal with seeker. And Eric?
Just a couple points, if I may, with regard to comments relating to seeker. With regard to sections 210-152A and 210-35F regarding buffers, the staff have worked with the applicant. The board has discussed with the applicant the issue of buffering from the adjacent property. They've acknowledged the need for buffering from the adjacent residential property. In comparison to the existing condition today is the large shop structure and there was a trailer practically on the property line. So the board has, in practice with numerous applications, exercised discretion with respect to a change from existing to proposed conditions. Staff feel that the buffers involved in this application that have been provided through the use of open space, an 8-foot privacy fence along the entire residential property line, reduced to, I believe, at 3-foot height, near Over Rocker Road in order to provide for sight lines for the adjacent neighboring driveway, the presence of the building near the residential property line in between the residential property line and the activities to be conducted on the site in the form of the canopy, the lights, and most of the traffic are a substantial improvement over the existing conditions. And the board has discussed some of that. As far as the seeker issue with respect to the zoning, the special use permits and variances, we have correspondence from the zoning administrator indicating that it is to be considered for special use permits and variances. Whether or not those amount to a special use permit, I would defer to the interpretation of the zoning administrator and council. So as far as points made with respect to seeker, that's all I have to say at the moment. The rest of our comments you have in writing.
Okay, thank you. We go around the board and start with Peter tonight.
There's a letter from DT Consulting which addresses the site assessment tank closure summary report. I think that addresses the tank that was found to be on state property, on the New York State property. I just wanted to be assured that when you receive the site assessment tank closure summary report, that it will receive a copy. The town will have a copy of that report.
Don, you'll make sure we have a copy of that report, right? Yeah. That's part of your review. Yeah.
We also received a comment about minor encroachments. This regard grading work on the site. This is from Joe Dennis, the town engineer. It said that this work might entail either a temporary access easement or at a minimum the applicant should obtain written consent from the adjoiner to perform the work as indicated. Can I ask, is that something that's critical?
I'm not sure how you want to define critical.
Can they do the work without permission from the adjoining landowner?
Not the work, no, there's work shown on the adjoining property owner. That work couldn't be done without their permission.
Which adjoining property are we talking about?
I assume it's the property directly on the east side of the...
You mean the west side? The shopping?
Bless you.
West side?
West side.
Yeah. That's that commercial property.
I don't know. It doesn't really
Yeah.
spell it out.
Yeah.
It's one labeled now or formerly Smart Capital.
Have you had any conversations with the adjoining property owner?
The only work that we're proposing is the connection that was requested by the board to the commercial property. So it would just be the curbing and asphalt up to the existing asphalt on that property.
All right, so you'd make it so they can go between the properties without going out on Route 44.
Correct.
That's what that is.
If the other property owner doesn't like it, I mean, that's fine with me.
Just as long as it doesn't interfere with your ability to complete the project as it was designed. That's why I asked the question, because in the comment says there seem to be minor encroachments on the adjoining parcel, including grading work, as well as for some of the utilities required at the rear of the new building, including sanitary disposal and storm sewer. That's really why I asked the question. I mean, those are pretty critical components. I just wanted to make sure that you have the ability, if you needed to get on the adjoining parcel, if you've made any, if you have had any conversations with the adjoining parcel owner.
Noted.
All of the septic system should be able, we should be able to install that from our property. We don't need to go on anybody else's property for that.
The only reason I asked the question is we got that comment on the report. I just wanted to clarify. Are we certain about that, Don?
Well, we probably should meet with the applicant. I'm certain that we believe that, yes.
Okay. We just want to have some certainty that if you are not required to go on the adjoining parcels, adjoining property to complete that work, Or if you do, we just want to know one way or the other, so we can be certain that you can finish the job.
I think we can get in contact with
Great.
the commercial property owner for that connection. So we can certainly do that.
Okay, thanks.
That's Smart Capital, is that who you're referring to?
Yes, yeah.
Don, am I correct that the encroachments Joe is referring to, if the adjacent commercial property owner was not receptive, is it true or not that all of the improvements could simply be shifted over so as not to encroach?
I would assume that they could, except for those parts where we're connecting that access drive. I mean, that's shown on the other property. As far as grading and those types of things, yeah, I would imagine the plans could be changed to show that, not encroaching.
And it'd be nice if that property owner does agree to the access drive, and as much traffic as you can keep off of the main highway,
Yeah.
that makes sense.
That's what.
So you probably need to work diligently to see if you can make that happen. That's a very positive aspect.
Correct.
And finally, I just want to underscore your comment earlier. I think it's always been our intention to hear from the Zoning Board of Appeals before we took any further action, particularly when it comes to the site plan. Could you hear me?
Got it. Thank you, Peter. Carl?
Yeah, I'll just echo, I think that existing connection is there now, and I think it's good to keep that connection to the other property for reasons John has mentioned. Just looking at some of the site plan issues, you have made improvements that we've talked about in previous meetings with the sidewalks and even some improvements on the architecture I noticed, so that looks good. I did have a question on the poles and the sign. Is it a pole sign or a monument type of sign?
We're actually looking at providing a detail
Okay.
that we'll submit with the next submission.
I guess I'd just be concerned about the height that you're looking for that. Anyway, you can get the name and some gas prices on there without going
Yep.
too high.
We're looking to make it more of a monument sign. On this drawing right now, it shows as a pole sign, but
Yep.
we are looking to do a lower monument sign.
Okay.
So we will
Thanks.
provide details for that.
And the only other thing I would say is, you want to discuss about the fence. I see it's, you put it as an 8-foot-high fence. One of the neighbors mentioned maybe 10 feet, but it's up to.
That's okay. I mean,
You'll work with the neighbor on that?
yeah, no, sure, no problem at
You
all.
want to,
I think the
although I know, we do need that low section for line of sight.
maximum, 8-foot maximum.
We'll work it out.
All right, and that's all I have then. Thanks.
Thank you. Ben?
Yeah, one of the neighbors mentioned about tanks being close to the property line. I don't see them here, maybe they're the old tanks, but the new tanks are in the northwest corner of the property.
Correct.
No,
Not
I think
close to any
they were,
property line.
yeah, I think they
He's
were
talking
referring
about
to
the
the
septic
septic tanks.
Septic tank.
Septic,
But that-
not the fuel tanks?
Again, that's all designed
Okay.
and will have to be approved by the health department. So we have to meet all of their requirements.
Right. With overspill protection,
For the septic tank?
overfill protection?
Of
with
course,
overfill
yes.
protection for the new tanks, to prevent an oil.
Talking about fuel.
Gas
The
spill?
fuel tanks,
Fuel
yes.
tanks, yeah.
Oh,
Yep.
of course.
One of the things I'm concerned with that, may be early now, but I've been involved with a case where the overfill caution sign and the alarm was between the delivery truck and the alarm sign and the alarm, and there was a spill because the driver couldn't hear the alarm. So we want to be careful to make sure that that's visual and audible for the driver when he's delivering the fuel.
Makes sense.
We will,
Makes
sure.
sense.
Okay?
Yeah. Thank you. Ed?
I'd like to see you take the site plan and delineate a little bit better the owners next door,
And even on the other side of Oberrocker, I see one, two, I think 3 driveways. But I'd like to see the owners listed on the site plan as well.
The owners listed on that? I believe the owners are listed on that site
If I
plan.
could,
Well,
maybe,
the only
maybe maybe a little
thing that I
more
see-
detail?
I see this one as Stengel, and I see Sharp Capital. On the other side of Oberrocker, I don't see any names. Following?
Do you want the property lines delineated there as
That
well?
would
At
be-
least the
that would
start
be
of them?
nice.
Property lines and driveways and the names, I think,
Okay,
right?
so we have the driveways, we could put the names and the
Yeah.
property lines?
I mean, how close is their house, I think, is another issue to the
Well,
property
there,
line.
there is a comment in regards to the property on the southwest corner of ours, that we do have to address and pick up the location of that driveway and that residence.
Okay.
So
I
we,
realize
that,
some of it's, commercial and some of it's residential, so I'd like to get a better feel for what that whole thing looks like out there. I drove up and down the road the other day and tried to take a look at that. Certainly we've got a lot of demolition work to do,
Okay.
which also needs to be monitored closely.
For sure.
That's all I have for now.
Thank you.
I just had some concerns about the soil. Have you had it tested by EDC, the soil,
Yes,
and you have paperwork for that?
my contractor has that.
Okay.
Yeah.
The only recommendation I would make is that, because there's so much snow now, and then, hopefully that'll melt someday,
August, I heard.
August, okay, in August.
My God.
I would be cautioned to cover the soil, with maybe a 8 mil plastic, so it's strong enough to retain, the soil, so it doesn't wash out on the properties or on the road.
It's not too much now. It's probably around 200 tons now. That's it.
Okay.
So we already taken out around 1,350 tons from the property.
Yeah, I just
So-
noticed it's a huge, and I don't know if it's a combination of snow or just dirt, so it seems to be quite a bit of.
Yeah, we have covered with the plastic, and even the underneath we
Okay.
have plastic
Yeah,
there, so
just,
it's no. And it's rock hard now.
I understand. And, my other comment is that, with the noise, Mr. Chair, is that there used to be a mechanic shop there once before. There used to be a gas station once before.
Sure.
And whatever that the applicant recommends it's got to be much better than it used to be. So that's just my comment to
I
the.
remember that was a pretty busy corner when it was a big repair
Right.
facility, yeah.
So, and, that's my comment.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else? Okay. Okay, anybody?
Make a motion on I move that the planning board, as lead agency for review of the unlisted action, determined that Arlington Farms Malabar Realty LLC site plan would not have a significant adverse effect on the environment, and that no environmental impact will be required for reasons set forth in seeker. What I was looking for, though, was, do we need to make a motion first about, we've already done that. We are the lead agency. That's been approved, right, Eric?
Yes.
Okay. No, I'm not going to make a positive recommendation on that. So I'll reserve my motion.
Okay, Ed doesn't want to make the motion. Anybody else want to make the motion?
Well, I'll make the motion.
Okay, you need to read it into record.
Excuse me, sir. Can you speak up?
Yes.
I can hardly hear you.
Okay, I'm sorry. Just read this paragraph.
Are you going to make a motion for seeker?
Yeah.
Okay.
Which part do you want?
Mr. Lepore is going to make a motion for seeker.
This.
Section D-A, where it says, "I move the planning board."
I move the planning board as lead agency for review of the unlisted action determined that the Arlington Farms Malabar Realty LLC site plan will not have a significant adverse effect on the environment, and that no environmental impact statement will be required for the reasons that set for the seeker negative declaration on unlisted action dated February 19, 2015.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded.
One question, John. There's a reference under the plan review comments regarding the site remediation. Will it, and this references that a note will be attached to the plan that will cover us in terms of whatever remaining remediation will be required for the site.
When we get to the site plan, yes.
Okay.
Yes.
With respect to seeker, you have in your packets the stipulation between the owner and DEC in which the DEC identifies that the discharge will be cleaned up and remediated to DEC's satisfaction according to a corrective action on plan on file with the DEC. It's a legal stipulation agreement. It says it has the enforcement of a, I think it says of a law or an order of the DEC. And as far as I know, the town has no jurisdiction to interfere or to modify with that stipulation agreement.
Yeah, my question simply is, they will not get a site plan approval unless that stipulation is fully, okay.
Okay, good question, thank you.
I have one last question. Mr. Olson, what was the neighbor's name and where do they live?
It's the Greaves at 215 over Rocket Road.
Carol has that information.
Okay. Are they on the other side from the site?
They're joining the gentleman who spoke.
It's behind it again. That's further south on Over Rocker.
Thank you.
It's 217. 217.
Okay, so it's moved and seconded. The planning board as lead agency for review of the unlisted action determined that the Arlington Farms Malabar Realty LLC site plan would not have an adverse effect on the environment and no environmental impact statement will be required for the reasons set forth in a secret negative declaration for non-listed action dated February 19, 2015. And call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries 5-1. Okay. I need a motion now, and I'll make this motion. I move that the planning board defer pending action by the defer conditional site plan approval for the Arlington Farms Malabar Realty LLC site plan pending action by the ZBA on the proposed use permits and subject to the following 1 through 13. I'm going to add 14. 1 through 12. 1 through 13. I'm going to add 14. It says any comments made this evening at the public hearing. Okay. Do I have a second?
Just one other thing, do we need to add another comment regarding the access to the discussion I had with Don about?
Well, I said comments made this evening by,
Okay.
by the
14,
at the public hearing by the board and
and the issue with the fence.
Eric's got all those down, as does Carol's. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Okay? If you can, you wanted to do I can't do an official architectural review, but if you want to just roughly run, in 5 minutes or less by the board, what you're thinking, and we can just have a discussion, and you can take whatever the feedback you get is, it's non-binding at this point, but it may be helpful in changing that whole thing around. Just kidding.
I appreciate it.
Could you move it closer, please?
Sure.
Yeah, black and white version.
So this is just a color representation of the elevations that are in the packet. We did the east elevation and the north elevation, which are going to be seen from Over Rocker and from Route 44.
And by the way, anybody in the audience who is still here for this and wants to see, you can come up and take a peek at this, or I can have him turn it around. You can look at it when he's done.
I was wondering if they can.
So we're proposing a
Camera.
cultured stone on the base of the building with a hardy siding above that with a standing seam metal roof. And these are the colors. We have this dark blue for the siding, a dark beige for the trim, and a dark brown for all of the roofing.
Okay. Any comments? What? Yes, positive, negative, any changes we might suggest to anybody?
Well, it's certainly a tremendous improvement over what's there today. That's for sure.
Yeah.
We were thinking green, but we weren't sure. Or that.
It looks like green, though.
It looks sort of green, I was gonna
I
say.
mean, green or yellow like it is today?
A little nice, like a little bit more, green.
Is that a Howdy board? Is that what it is?
It is hardy board, yes.
Okay. All right, so there's no major objections. You might want to just turn around if anybody wants to see it, okay?
I like that the stone, you did the stone on the base of the poles of the canopy there to match the building.
Yes.
Is there any other treatment of the poles going up above the stone?
At this point,
We're not proposing
I would like
anything at this point,
to
no.
have a motion to suspend the rules for comments on any other,
Before you leave this hall.
This will be the north side.
I'd like to ask you also on your next submittal, a photometric would be helpful to get through a
well,
couple of.
you know what, for now, we're done with this application for this evening, but if you'd like to take it out in the lobby, you guys can take a closer look and ask whatever questions you have of the applicant. That's fine.
That'll take care of some of the other.
Okay?
One of
Fair enough.
the previous applications, we did submit the photometrics.
Okay.
With the current DOT modifications to the island between the in and out on Route 44.
Just included in the next submission.
Sure, we actually eliminated a light fixture.
Okay.
So anyway, let them see that in the lobby and they could discuss that, all right? And don't forget, if and when they get their variances and use permits and what have you from the zoning board of appeals, that's another board. If they get that, they will be coming back here, the public hearing will be reopened for more comments and you have more time to speak about this application.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're not done with this thing, it's got a ways to go.
We anticipate the zoning board will be on February 19, 18,
think it's-
16th, I think, is that right?
I think
March
it's the
16th?
9th.
March 9th?
I think
March
so.
9th, and then it'll be back to the planning board of March 19th.
Okay, thank you. I make a motion, we suspend the rules to allow comments on any other items on this evening's agenda. Seconded? Moved and seconded, call a question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Is there anyone that wishes to comment on any of the other agenda items this evening? That being 1, 2, 4 through 6. Okay, seeing no one, I move we resume the rules.
Second?
Moved and seconded, I'll call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Plan review, Pierce lot line revision, who's here for that application? Good luck at the zoning board, guys.
Mr. Chairman, my firm has represented Pierce's in the past, so I'm going to be recusing myself. I'll step out of the room.
Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
No. Somehow all this paper has just got to go away. I don't know, isn't it crazy? Okay, application under plan review number 1, Pierce lot line revision. Lot line review for realignment of property lines at 21 Priscilla Lane and 2 Indian Lane, zoned R20 residence, 20,000 square feet, 1.302 plus or minus acres. Unlisted action, Vinton and James Pierce and Mariana Pierce owners. Get that right?
Yeah.
Okay. Identify yourselves, please, to the board.
My name is Christian Garber with KC Engineering.
Vinton Pierce, the property owner.
Thank you.
Now, the properties were subdivided in 2006, and the owners of the properties would like to just simply realign the property lines between Mr. Pierce and his mother.
Okay. Sounds straightforward. Thank you. Eric? Sure.
Staff is recommending that the planning board act on an uncoordinated review to approve a secret negative declaration for this and also to grant the conditional lot line approval. The staff acknowledges the zoning administrator's comments and our own review that the zoning district and the setbacks as shown on the plan are incorrect. They were set from the 2006 approval. The town adopted new zoning in 2007, which designated this area as R20, not as R10, a district which no longer exists. That said, pending zoning board review of the plans, it appears that no variances will be required, but that final determination will be made by the zoning administrator when it is updated. And in any case, variances, there are fairly substantial setbacks associated with any changes to the lot line. And it would be subject to the zoning board, so as long as the planning board is comfortable with that, they could choose to proceed with an approval pending ZBA review and approval if required.
Okay. I have no problem with that. It's fairly straightforward. It all hinges on the ZBA, giving you the right, the go-ahead to do this. So, can you go around the board and start with,
Yeah, I got nothing really. It looks like the driveway encroached on property and you want to...
Basically, my mother's 85 and she's gone blind and it's too much property for her to maintain. So I'm just taking more of the property on and you're right, my driveway did kind of encroach on her property line when I snowplow and stuff. If she ever wanted to sell the property, I didn't want to have an argument with the new owner.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we were just trying to nip things in the bud before any problems arose.
As long as the neighbors are agreeable, that sounds good.
Ben?
Nothing.
Ed?
So you're basically creating a new lot 3, right?
No, it's not a new lot. It's just part of my, adding it to my parcel, I believe.
Could you just point out on the map where, existing and where you're going? The existing property line runs here, and then here, and the proposed property line, and that continues here. The existing property line does, the proposed line comes from...
Wait a minute, I'm looking at this. And it looks like your mother's property included lot 3. Is that correct?
Now this is lot 3 as shown on our plan.
Well, I'm looking at this.
This is the lot there. These are the property lines that we're going to...
Right.
Can you speak loud enough into the mic, sir?
This looks like it was part of this lot, and now it's going to him. Am I missing that?
Oh, this is the proposed area, the proposed lot 3. This was lot 3.
Right, that's my question.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're picking up a lot more property.
Yes, sorry.
Yeah, well, my mother...
That's the only thing I was asking.
Yeah,
I
it's just-
thought I understood that. I was just looking at
Going
this.
from mom over to you.
Yeah, the lawn service and stuff like that.
Her
was
lot
too
is
much.
getting smaller, your lot is getting larger. That's
That's
the only
all.
thing I was trying to clarify.
Yeah,
Sorry, I misunderstood.
Okay, fine.
same here.
Good luck. That's a lot of lawn.
Yeah, lots of
Yeah.
So there's no house on lot 1?
Yes,
Just
there is.
empty?
There is a house on lot 1.
Yes.
The house on lot 1? Okay.
Yes.
And obviously you own that, right? Or
Yes,
your
I
mom?
do. I own, which is lot 1.
The bigger lot?
I remember when we did this years ago.
He's referring to the one right on the corner of Indian.
Yeah,
and
corner of
Priscilla.
Indian and
Right.
Priscilla, yeah, that, I do own that property. Actually, I owned and subdivided it several years ago. You were
I remember that, yes.
Right.
When you came in and built.
And this is a gravel driveway, is that going to stay, or you going to pave it, or what's?
It was requested by the board when we did the subdivision the first time to maintain a gravel driveway at that time. Like I said, when I plow snow, I've been plowing the gravel onto her yard,
Right.
so every spring I have to rake it off and pull it back, but,
Well, that's a scheduled activity.
Yeah, it's keeps me in shape,
There you go.
A little raking, that's all.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, you know, maybe you wanna think about some people.
Oh, I would love to blacktop it, at some
All
point.
right, thank you,
know?
I have that.
Thank you. Okay. So, oh, Peter, I'm sorry. You're good, okay. Don?
Nothing.
Okay. All right, so I move the planning board determine that the Pierce lot line revision application is a non-listed action for a non-coordinated secret review and that it will not have a significant adverse effect on the environment. No environmental impact statement will be required for the reasons set forth in the negative deck dated to February 19, 2015,
Whoops, thank you.
prepared by the planning department. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded. Moved and seconded. We call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. I move the planning board grant conditional lot line revision approval for the Pierce lot line revision application and also grant a 60-day time extension of said approval from April 18th, 2015 forward to June 17th, 2015, subject to the following. 1 through 6, and one, of course, has to do with the ZBA's approvals and so on, as we discussed before.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Okay? Good luck at the zoning board.
Thank you.
Okay.
Good luck with the gravel. That's fun to rake.
Yeah. Okay, Beacon Residential. Who's here for Beacon Residential?
Yeah.
Okay.
Lawnmowers, too.
297 Violet Avenue, Planning Board to declare lead agency intent. Recommendation to the town board for rezoning and site plan review for a new two-story, 4-unit multifamily residence, 297 Violet Avenue, zoned R20, residence 20,000 square feet, .445 acres, Beacon Residential LLC. It's an unlisted action, Beacon Residential LLC owner. Thank you. Owners.
Been a while, Ed.
It has. You might want a copy of this. This is the report. You can have this. That's it.
Thanks.
All right? Got that from Supervisor Tancredi today. Hi, Ed.
Mr. Chairman, how are you?
We're good. Thank you. The floor is yours.
Mr. Chairman,
Introduce your associate, please.
my name is Ed Lodi. This is Brenda Canto. She's followed up on Heather. I apologize, she can't come anymore. Some of you remember Heather Anderson, used to be with me.
Right, that's right.
Well, good evening. We're here to represent Beacon Residential LLC, who are the owners of this particular parcel, and it's vacant at this time, and it is our hope to get an approval for a 4-unit small apartment building. I say small because all in all, the footprint is 1,800 square feet. It's 2 floors, a total of 3,600 square feet, which in the city or in the town may be a bigger house, but for the most part nowadays, it's like the size of a house. The units are not big, and we're setting it back 112 feet from the road. Behind the building, we're putting out parking. So if you can imagine going down Violet Avenue, and most likely you won't stop long enough to look, but if you did, you'd basically see a small park with a drive going through it and a facade that's 30 foot wide, which is about the side of this wall, 2 stories high. It's like a 1-story building. I mean, a 1-family building, what it would appear like. So that is our intent. Now, the reason we're asking for this is because we don't have by right. We cannot by right do the 4 units. The amount of square feet per unit that's required, excuse me a minute, Brenda, what is that? You know?
Yes, 7,260.
All right, 7,260 square feet of land is required for each unit. Now, if you take, as a matter of fact, may I?
Take the microphone with you, please.
I haven't learned that yet. That's a new thing since I was here last.
Oh, they're new microphones too.
You have to turn it on, Ed, I didn't turn it on.
I always need an assistant. Can you hear this now?
Yes.
This little pink box is actually our building, and this is our lot right here. That little pink box represents 4% of the whole site. It's very small. We're requesting 4 units here, according to the zoning ordinance, and it's 7,260 square feet of land required per dwelling unit. We can only get 2 units. It would come to 2.6 some units. And it's true that we have a little mathematical problem here. As you can see from the site plan, half the site, this 110 feet, we're proposing to make into a landscaped area. The only thing that would be in there would be the driveway. All our parking is in the back. Behind us is a trailer park. North of us is the Hudson River, the old hospital. On this side is an R20 zone, but there is a 3-family, I understand legal 3-family house there now. On this side is Schmeling Glass. That's a commercial property. All these little colored dots represent different zones. So we're not in a situation where we're requesting something that's really out of the ordinary. We're not between 100 small houses on 20,000 square feet, and we, in the middle of this, want to put a 4-unit building. We're in a very unique situation. It's really a mix of so many zones that we felt that it was appropriate to do this. Now, I'll add this little thing. Neil Wilson isn't here tonight, but he and members of the Land Use Committee reviewed this, and we showed a building a little bigger than this. We only had an 82-foot setback. I think the setback required is 32 feet?
50, I believe. No, 30.
30. So even then, we were 40 foot beyond it. We were actually proposing a 6-unit building here. Because my client, he's a builder, and from an investment point of view, once he gets in here building, it would have been more profitable for him to have 6 units. Neil Wilson looked at it and said, now that I see the plan, I see how this actually does work. And it does work. But what doesn't work is the math. The ordinance calls for 7,260 square feet, and with that, we can't do any more than 2. So we realize we're here looking for a recommendation to go forward, and Eric is giving me a big pack of paper of things that we still have to do. We're fully intending to do all that, but that's in essence why we're here, is to explain to you our plan for this parcel.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Eric?
Sure. Yeah, staff have discussed the proposal with Mr. Lodi and amongst themselves. And Mr. Lodi, he's correct that there's some receptivity to potentially extending the multifamily district to this parcel. The zoning administrator suggested that rather than rezoning this single parcel, that the nearby multifamily district to the south be extended upwards to include this parcel and the next. That would result in a total addition of 3 parcels to the multifamily district. Schmeling Glass, the proposed subject site, and the legally non-conforming 3-family residential property adjacent to this one, to the north. That's not presently the proposal on the table. It could be embodied in the planning board's recommendation to the town board if and when you get there. The action for tonight for the planning board is only to declare its intent to be lead agency and to circulate and to discuss some of these issues with the applicant. Really, probably the only issue to discuss with the applicant is, as he just discussed with you, the density for the parcel that's under half an acre in size. Staff was suggesting that you make every effort to make the landscaped area, the impervious surface area, and all, as much as possible, conform to the zoning code to accommodate the number of units, so that there's not an excess of activity on the site that could become a potential nuisance to other residential properties in the vicinity. And that, will remain to be seen in additional information in the future submittals.
Thank you. Questions from the board? Let me start with Ben.
No.
Ed?
I just think you got a long ways to go. You certainly have got minimum amount of parking as well you got 8 bedrooms. I can easily see how this could be a student house and multiple cars and so forth. So at any rate, get through the variance process, take a look at, your calculations again, and good luck.
We'll see you down the road.
Thank you.
I was just wondering something, Ms. Laurie. Have you ever approached Mr. Schmeling if they could sell some more property to the owners?
I can't speak to that directly, sir. My client might have. He bought this property from Schmeling. It was a deeded property, and he bought it just as it was at the time. So I can find out.
Yeah.
And I will.
I'm sorry, go ahead, sir.
No, and I will.
The other question I had, and I'm not sure if you could move the building towards the back, and then you would have the parking in the front versus in the back. That would give you more square footage of what you want to do. I'm not sure if you follow me.
No, I follow you, sir, but I'm not quite
Typically
sure.
try and get the parking behind the buildings if we can, just to, so that the view shed from the road isn't.
We were hoping, well, we were not hoping. I think we've accomplished what we wanted to do, and that is to make this appear like a little one-family house from the road. It's 112 feet back from the road. There's a driveway and trees and grass. The parking is all in the back. We originally laid this out for 12 cars for 6 units, so I think we can accommodate that additional parking that you seem to be talking about.
8 bedrooms.
But I'd like to say one other thing.
2 students each. 16.
Potentially.
You would like to say some other thing?
That's all right.
We'll get a chance to talk about the parking at another date, but yes.
But to Ed LaPerch's point, this was before this board about 7 years ago. And I strictly remember the chairman saying, "We like this. Get yourself a variance." But Mike Saffone was so adamant that he did not want what he called apartments for Marist College down here or anybody else. And my client wasn't interested in getting into a fight over this. So we dropped it and we had it there. Since then, Marist and Dutchess have built so many apartments. I don't think they're out there looking for placement of their students in the neighborhoods. Also, my client, who regretfully has been ill for about a week, that's why he's not here. He's a pretty robust fella who's a builder and owns 3 or 4 of these units down in the Beacon area. And he builds them and maintains them and owns them. He is no more interested in putting students in here than you are. I can assure you of that. I hope and I expect that in future meetings he will be here and he can direct.
It would be nice to see some examples of his work and his properties and see some pictures.
Yeah. Actually, now that you ask, Mr. Chairman, we do have a picture of one of those properties, and I'll ask Brenda to hand it out. This is actually the very same picture we showed you about 7 years ago. This building is in Beacon, and the front of this building looks pretty much the way what we're proposing to build here.
Thank you. Don't get me wrong, it's much better what it's now, and I think I like the project as well. My only concern again is that for quality of life, you have a residential building next to a commercial business. And, you know, the noise, and maybe we can look at some buffers and some trees and some fence, so, but
Well, you know, that's
also, but that needs to be addressed, you're absolutely right.
That's a
We'll
good
get-
point, but
we'll
I
get
mean,
to that during
that's
site
a
plan.
risk, that's the risk that the entrepreneur always takes. And I think to help him protect himself is nice, but in his opinion, this would work.
Okay, well, again, that's a good point, and that's certainly something we will discuss, yeah. Okay, thank you.
Thank
Oh, wait,
you.
then, Peter, did I start with? You were good, all right. Carl?
Yeah, the only thing I would add, I mean, I think it's got 8 parking spaces, so the 4 units, I think that would be a good fit. You may have trouble finding parking unless, I mean, Schmaling does have a little piece of flag land behind us, so something as Joe suggested, if they were interested in making the parcel bigger. But I like the fact that you're trying to keep it in the character of the neighborhood as well, of a smaller size house with the 4 units. I guess the only thing I would say is, I think it is a good idea to extend versus just being if you're trying to go for RM rezone of just that one parcel, that's a little more troublesome than trying to just extend the whole RM district up through Schmaling Glass to include that one on your other side, and that blends in with the mobile home behind that district as well as the RM below, so.
Well, we discussed this with Neil, and we would defer to the town's preference here, whether they want to extend the RM zone or whether they just want to give us a variance on this particular parcel. We're happy either way.
I don't think we're good, we can't make any recommendations tonight because we have to do the lead agent, but I think we need to.
And that's up
discuss
to the
this
town
further.
board as well.
That's yeah, exactly.
Mr. Chair, just have a is this the type of building you do?
That's correct. That particular building, it's not an architectural marvel. We designed it for him about 10 years ago. It's a building in Beacon, and that's the front of it. That's the 30-foot wide. Now, it's 60 feet long, but you can't see that from the road, neither can you see that in this situation.
Long driveway.
Well, the driveway is partially long because we put the building 110 feet back from the road. And to add to the gentleman's comment about he likes the way we're trying to fit in the neighborhood, I think we're improving the neighborhood
Well,
a
no,
whole
that's
lot.
why I said before, it's much better than it's than now. I mean, it should be.
Well, right now it's vacant, sir.
Right, it
but,
should be a good asset, yeah.
Yeah, and yes.
Okay, we're gonna move you along here.
I move that the planning board declare its intent to be lead agency to coordinate the environmental review. The proposed project as an unlisted action and authorize the planning department staff notification of the involved agency of the board's intent by circulating a notice of said intent, a copy of the EAF, and a copy of the application to the identified involved agencies.
Second.
And moved and seconded that the planning board declare its intent to be lead agency as stated by Mr. LaPerche. Call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0.
I move that the planning board defer action on a rezoning recommendation to the town board and on a site plan application pending establishment of a lead agency, and direct the applicant to respond to the following inclusive of comments received from the town department and the agencies, including but not limited to those below.
Where's 136?
Why does it start at 7?
That's the question I just asked. Why does it start at 7?
1 through 6. I'm missing 1 through 6.
That's what I just
I think you could just, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, I think we could just renumber those 1 through 10.
Okay. 1 through 10.
With 11 being, if I might, anything from the comments this evening.
Right.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
We moved and seconded that the planning board defer action per what Mr. LaPerche said, and 1 through 11, and 11 being the comments and things that were discussed this evening to be taken into consideration. Call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carries 6-0. Good luck at this zoning board.
Thank you very much.
Take care.
Nice to see you again, Ed. Application number 3, Rosewood subdivision is off the agenda in case anyone's here for that. Number 4, Valero, 813 Main Street. Site plan review for an existing canopy refacing on new pump islands, new dumpster enclosure, parking delineation and color, and trade graphics change from Getty Gas Station to Valero Gas, 813 Main Street, Zone ATC, Arlington Town Center. Type 2 action, Lee Mills Petroleum, Inc., owner. Okay. That's kind of where I was going. Okay. Hello.
Hello. Good evening, everyone.
And you gentlemen are? Good evening.
Name is Bob Durand. I'm the architect for the project. My client.
Russo Visugi, I'm president of Dutchess Terminals Inc., tenant on this site.
Good. Welcome.
Thank you. You all presently know this station on Main Street in Arlington here as Getty. Our intention, of course, is to go to Valero as far as badging is concerned. And with that, we have the intention to freshen up the site. We have an existing canopy, which, of course, the underlying structure is still in excellent condition. However, the skin with Getty on it is proposed to be removed, and new skin with the Valero trade on each side. Along with that, we'll have new pump islands, which will be only 4 pump stations. And of course, one of the main reasons of work for the project is to replace the 3 underground fuel tanks with 2 new up-to-date tanks to take care of premium, regular, as well as diesel.
If I may just add, is the replacement of underground tanks piping is mandatory and is requested by DEC.
Right. Anything else?
No, and overall, we're not changing the footprint of anything on this property. If anything, we're reducing it. We're going from 8 dispensers currently on the property to 4. Islands are going to be smaller than what they are. Canopy is going to be, because the way the canopy is set up currently, it's got that plastic part that it sticks out. That would be removed, so it would, even the size of the canopy would a little bit shrinks. Proposal, we met with Mr. Neil Wilson. And he suggested that we put a dumpster enclosure, which we're proposing on this plan. And a little bit, and some shrubbery right around where the ID sign is, on the Main Street part. And designate a handicap parking alongside other parking spaces.
Now, you're aware that this is part of the Arlington Town Center, right?
I wasn't until Mr. Wilson told us, yes.
Okay. And as such, it needs to be held to a little higher standard.
Okay.
So we have some concerns about that. Eric?
I'm going to let our intern who's studying with us and helping out for a while, Sean, has done the review on this, and I think he did a good job, so I'll let him present.
Hello. So us as the staff, we feel that what you're requesting for the Valero station doesn't meet Arlington Town Center standards. So we feel like that there needs to be the dumpster enclosure needs to be in a different location. We feel as if the dumpster enclosure takes up customer parking. So when Neil Wilson told you to put a dumpster enclosure, we feel as if it should be out of the view of the main of Main Street. We saw that you have a commonly owned Valero station in Wappingers Falls. Is that correct?
No,
No?
I don't own that.
Okay, then we were misinformed. But there is a very nice Valero station on 9B in Wappingers Falls, not too far away. The station is in very good condition. Maybe
Brand new.
with another site plan, you can actually look towards that as a recommendation, as a guide, almost. What we're hoping for in Arlington Town Center.
What that Valero you're referring to was a raise and rebuild. In other words,
Yes.
the whole instruction.
Now
whatever
you
was
get the
there.
idea.
Exactly. I know exactly what location you're talking about. I have a station just up the road from there. And that station is a raise and rebuild as opposed to this one. I do not own this property, so there's a limited budget that I have to spend on this property. I have a 10-year lease with 2 10-year option. Getty is not willing to sell the property. So that's one of the other reasons. The other alternative for me would have been just to replace the tanks, which is mandatory. It's mandated by DEC, and leave everything else the same. And instead of doing that, we approached Mr. Wilson, and he recommended to do these, and that's why this whole thing came up.
Correct, but since this is Arlington Town Center, we just, we hope to have more of an upgrade than what is currently there now.
That's totally understandable.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Just a couple of brief comments. I think there's the comments in the packet prepared by Sean and staff. There's a lot more information necessary for a site plan application. But the bigger picture is that if I think staff and the board would like to see some effort made to do more than just change the plastic on the canopy and put a new coat of paint on the building. And we understand that you don't own the site. That in itself may be an issue because right now, we don't even have a complete application because we don't have an owner consent on file.
Oh, no, we submitted the owner consent about 3 months ago, when
Well,
the
maybe you can
contractor applied
resend
for a
it.
tank
Okay,
replacement.
maybe you can, well, it's
Oh, I can
not part of your,
yeah, I
it's
can
not a
resubmit
part of
it,
your planning
absolutely.
department
Yes,
application.
yes.
So you may want to have a discussion with the owner about their intent for the site.
Right.
Because I think the planning board we'll let them talk about it, but there's an opportunity here to improve a site that is significant to the appearance of that part of Main Street. There are other parts of Main Street that are making improvements. We'd like to see that property come forward with something a little better.
I would love to see the same thing. I'm open to suggestion, as long as it's reasonable.
Well, with all due respect, maybe you need to have a representative from Getty here.
Okay.
So that we can let them know what our expectations are.
Okay.
Because frankly, don't take this personally, it's really an eyesore.
It is an eyesore.
Yes.
We're trying to improve it,
Well,
obviously, yes.
but little tiny incremental improvements aren't gonna get it done.
Right.
Okay, and we got some other things coming along on Main Street, in that area. And this, an improvement to this building, even a new building, a smaller canopy, because there's fewer pumps, et cetera, would only help to enhance that part of Main Street that's going to get better and better. And you really want to become a part of that.
Right.
Okay, and that's kind of where we're coming from. And we're looking for some substantial positive changes to this property that would not only enhance your business and improve your business, hopefully, okay, it'll improve the neighborhood. I mean, the same old just isn't going to make it. That's my editorial comment.
What's the role of Valero in this?
Valero, I'm a distributor of Citgo and Valero, so we have the right to fly their brand. We signed the contract. Valero is a
Getty's the
supplier.
owner.
I'm sorry?
But Getty owns the property.
Getty owns the property, correct. Getty Realty owns the property.
Ah.
Getty Petroleum has gone out of business.
Okay, got it.
If you're able to get them, we'd be happy to meet with you and them.
I'm sorry?
If you can get a hold of them, staff would be happy to meet with you
Sure.
and them and
Absolutely.
include one or two representatives of the board.
Okay.
Yeah, it was actually, it's a very good idea to have an offline meeting, get all the right people in the room, and talk about what we can do and you can do. We can work together to get something, really good to come out of this.
Okay.
Okay? I think that's positive. But let me go around and room for comments. Let me start with Ed.
I think it's already been said.
Joe?
Yeah, and I agree with you. I mean, you invest in money on some property that you don't own. Maybe, like Eric said, maybe we can talk to the Gettys and see if they increase instead of 10 years lease, maybe 20 years.
Right.
And make it a little bit more an investment.
Right.
And make it nicer, and it'll be a win-win for the town and for yourselves.
Yeah.
Like Mr. Chair said, you can't just put Band-Aid in there, and
Right.
it's a very, very high visible area, especially that area, so.
With all due respect, we're not putting Band-Aids on it.
Well, maybe the words are,
Okay.
just, well, but
Right.
we wanted something
Right.
nicer.
Okay.
And I agree with Mr.
Okay.
Chair.
I think, John, you're on the right track to get Getty involved, and it's quite possible that the lessee may be under some constraints under the terms of his lease that we're not even aware of. So I think it's probably a good idea to get the landlord involved. I think Mr. Vasugi is here and acting in good faith, and let's get everybody to the table and see if there's something reasonable that can be worked out.
Absolutely.
Sounds good. Absolutely. Sure.
Yeah, it sounds like good comments all around. I did want to make one other thing that the Arlington Town Center does say it requires sidewalks as well, so that's something to consider along the street there.
Good to see you again.
Thank you.
I think what we're saying here is we like what you're doing. But as everybody else said, I'm just going to reinforce it. Like to see it done a little better, nicer, and it would be better for the town and better for your business too. And if there's anything we could do to help, we'd like to help you.
Thank you.
Exactly right.
And by the way, sir, you did a great job in Wappinger, especially that you have done that in
Well,
the
that's not his.
No, that Valero is not.
It's not yours?
No, I have the
Because I saw
Citgo.
photos here that.
Yeah, well, that's.
I don't know who brought that up. Yeah.
Oh.
But that's they set the standard pretty high.
I think he said he'd like it if it was his.
After the brain bill.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, go ahead.
I move that the planning board defer further action on the site plan application subject to the following. It goes 1 through 10. Anything else, anybody?
Yeah, at 11, we have a meeting with staff and the applicant and the property owners,
Right.
and any other things that we discussed as part of the application tonight. Have a second?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Moved and seconded, we defer action on the site plan applications, subject to the following, 1 through 11, 11 being comments made this evening, and then we have a staff level meeting with the applicant and the owner of the property and so on to see what we can work out. And call the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. It's good. I'm glad you guys are coming in. I think we can work something out and
Okay. Thank you.
there are other good things coming along for that section of Main Street. Okay, number 5, Dahlia Site Plan. Seeker review, recommendation to the town board for rezoning and site plan review for a proposed rezoning of 5 parcels from R20 residence, single family, 20,000 square feet.
Kelly's en route, and I asked to do both. Didn't mean to interrupt you. Wanted to read the whole thing.
Is there anybody here from Fairview?
All right, and she's Fairview Common also.
Keep that also, but, she.
Well, I got nothing else. I got a time extension. So if she's not here, we're just gonna have to push you up to March.
I don't mind going ahead, but I was just gonna give her a few more minutes what we talked about.
All right, I'm.
So the blame all falls on you then?
Do the time extension.
I hear you.
Like this, and you guys can keep your.
We'll do Fairview Common,
Yes.
after that.
Yes, I do Fairview Commons, I can do that.
Okay. But let me just skip ahead to the time extension, just while you're setting up, gentlemen. Under other business, we're gonna do Lakeview, Maxi Storage, time extension for an approved site plan for a proposed self-storage facility in 4 buildings, total of 16,640 square feet to be constructed in 3 phases, in retention of an existing residence, 14 and 16 Creek Road zoned IH Heavy Industry District with a business park designation, 1.8 acres. Negative declaration adopted, 11/21/13, Grace Cirilli, trustee, and Scott Bryant, owners. I gotta dig this out here, but, the time extension is proposed for the, no, it's not that one, where are we?
From November 21st, 2013, conditional site plan approval for the subject project, which received 190-day time extension and will expire February 19th, 2015. We recommend, and I will propose, that the planning board grant a second and last 90-day time extension of conditional site plan approval from February 19th of 2015 forward to May 20th, 2015.
Second.
How's that?
Oh, okay, yeah, no, that's what it was approved, that was the first one, it was first approved. Yes. Okay, do we have a motion, we have a second?
I did.
Okay, it's moved and seconded, call the question, all those in favor?
David?
Aye.
Motion carries 6-0. Hey, come on.
I know,
I was still on the first line.
It's sunstroke. And with that.
Jet lags.
First time in Florida.
Okay, we're gonna take a 5-minute break.
Okay.
That too. Fairview Commons, discussion for consideration of tree removal on an approved site plan for construction of a 151-unit apartment complex and 8,500 square feet of support space, 66 Fulton Avenue, Zone FC, Fairview Center, and PROD planned residential overlay district, 13.895 acres. Secret negative deck adopted 8/21/14, Page Park Associates owner. And they are here this evening for...
My name's Ken Casamento from LRC, representing the applicant.
We knew that.
Figured I'd just mention it just in case.
That's good. I'm glad you did.
We submitted a plan. We have another plan that we've spoke to Eric about, and actually I have some small copies I can hand out real quick about a restoration plan. Just walk back here.
Do I have the latest one from you?
And we'll formally provide this to the board as well, full size. Long and short is, we just provided a restoration plan with some trees in some of the key areas. The proposed project is not to do anything but cut the trees, not stumping, not removing any ground disturbance, not proposing any of that within the disturbance limits that were provided or were approved as part of the site plan approval. That's really it.
Okay. Eric?
We just got this submittal on Friday. They're looking to waive tree removal restrictions. As you know from long practice, the site plan review regulations, when there is an application in place, then site work can't commence until after the site plan is signed. In this instance, the applicant has stated that they got their approval in January. It includes conditions from the Army Corps, which according to the applicant, the conditions include a restriction on tree cutting between the dates of, I think it's March 31st to October 31st. And Ken, please jump in if you like. My sense is that they don't. It's going to be pretty difficult to get everything done before March 31st to permit tree clearing to begin when it is permitted according to the Army Corps stipulation.
Correct. We're 90% through of getting the comments back into the engineer, responding to all the site plan approval comments, and by the time we get that back and get your signatures on the plans and all that, there won't be enough time to be done before the end of March.
Right. And just to add, which is not in our review, on top of that, just a couple of weeks ago, we received notice that the DEC has promulgated its new regulations on stormwater design. So it does not, at the moment, it does not provide for any grandfathering, and it includes new design standards such that I don't even know to what extent you may or may not need to rework your stormwater design for this site.
In the quick review that we've done to compare the two, there is no change in the substance of the formal stormwater design. There's a lot of the form changes, and there's a lot of that. I know I've actually been speaking to Joe's office, Joe, and there is the DEC is looking to implement the same type of lead time for applications that have been already submitted, but it isn't formally done yet. So right now we're in this quagmire of we have to comply with the new stormwater regulations, but they've told us verbally that they are in the process of drafting regulations that says if you've been submitted before they came into effect and the MS4 is in agreement with leaving those in there for the short term, they can still fall under the old general permit, just like they did the last time they implemented the stormwater code. But at this time, that isn't available.
So given the March 31st timeline by which they have to drop trees, they have requested a discussion with you seeking some relief from that restriction.
Okay. And in conjunction with that, they've given us a restoration plan for those trees. Should this thing not go forward, or what the restoration plan?
I'm seeing this for the first time tonight, as you are. We've had some discussions with them, and I've drafted for you, in case you want to consider it, we've drafted some details as to what we think they would need to do in order to make make it work. But yeah, we're suggesting, we had talked with them about covering the eventuality, because you never say never, covering the eventuality that they start work or they clear the trees and then for some reason things stop. Then what happens? So we've discussed, we need to have some guarantees in place to ensure that should they, just as we did on the site work, if they start working for some reason, any reason, things stop, there needs to be provisions in place to address that circumstance, which we talked with them about. It's got to be trees, it's got to be revegetated, planting plan put back. There needs to be some financial security to ensure that it actually happens.
And that's where I was going with the financial security aspect also.
Right, and so what you have in front of you tonight is, if you wanted to go that way, we've suggested some details, some conditions to provide for those securities.
Okay, got it. Okay. We'll go around for comments. Start with Joe.
No comment.
Okay, Peter.
Well, listen, I voted against the land contour permit because I believe the risk to the developer and to the town is too great. This landscaping reclamation plan, you cut the trees down, you got 20, 30-foot high trees. What are you going to replace them with? I mean, I'm going to vote against this. But I'm just asking the question because I just want to get them on the record. There's no amount, financial security in the form of a cash bond or a letter of credit. What would that amount be?
I'm assuming.
We'll provide you with an estimate, and then, as is customary, the town engineer reviews that estimate to determine the appropriateness.
Yeah, but you're asking us to take a vote on something where we don't have really the slightest idea of how much you would be willing to put up, either as a bond or any other type of financial security to cover the cost of replacing all those trees.
It's really up to the village or the town engineer. So we're going to provide an estimate, and the town engineer would be the final say on that.
Think it would be reasonable for us to have that estimate before we took a vote?
I apologize that we didn't get that to you earlier, but this is something that we discussed at last minute with the development director and with our attorney. And really, a lot of this is predicated on the litigation that had occurred. And so there's, nothing short of that. We intend fully on proceeding with the site plan. We've been very diligent about coming before the planning board.
I'm sure. I'm just saying that, we have to take a vote. It's always better to vote when you have sufficient information to make that recommendation. The final question I have is a legal letter of consent to be approved by the Director of Municipal Development. Is he authorized to make that approval, or should that be the town attorney?
You could choose. I simply suggested that because I see that if you could impose whatever conditions that you want to, if you decide to go with this. I'm simply suggesting that there be the Director of Municipal Development or someone in town government be.
Okay. My suggestion
that the conditions are in fact met.
My suggestion only is that if we have a legal letter of consent, it should be approved by the town attorney. Those are my comments.
I guess the tree removal, the tree felling issue, I think is fine. I think we should discuss if you want to consider further removing the hardwood before it gets into a muddy quagmire as well. Just cutting and removing, not touching the stumps or anything from an erosion standpoint. But I'm just concerned overall, once they're cut and the thaw comes in, then you got erosion issues anyway because they're not soaking up the water anymore. But
I'm
so
hoping
that
at
has
that
to move
point
into
that
plan.
we were trying to. The intent of this was to minimize ground disturbance, and so we've been working very closely with the town on trying to get the plan signed. Of course, once the board approves the plans, there is a lengthy process on getting the plans signed. So we've been working pretty closely with the town on that. Our intention is to keep moving ahead with that and then start the site work once those are signed, so we could incorporate that. Actually, the tree removal at that time with the site work. That was our intention. We were trying to minimize the ground disturbance.
So you don't really are not interested in doing that anyway, just, you want to just fell the trees at this point.
Right.
All right, thanks.
Ben?
No comment.
You know me, how I always loved land contour changes. And quite frankly, the Pages have been around here for a long time, and I've done business with them, over the years of buying this, that, and the other thing, and so on and so forth. However, this is really an act of faith again, and I'm going to cite a couple of things that have not happened. The Tao building over there on Route 9 across from what used to be the IBM Country Club, and also the storage place out there on Salt Point. That hasn't moved along very fast at all, either one of those. I don't know that ever we're going to do anything about that pond out front there and so on and so forth. But this is another example of another project that has gone through its problems and, unforeseen things and so on and so forth. And really, I think you're asking again on a basis of faith, I guess. I don't see whether bond has been approved, and I don't know how much you're taking down versus how much you're calling out for in the restoration plan, nor is there any narrative associated with it. So I'm nervous about it again. Quite frankly, I've seen it fall on its heels too many times. So I voted, as did Peter, against the land contour thing, and I'm having trouble with it again tonight.
If I could, just address the two projects that you talked about, and I'm happy to talk offline about the process for those. But we've been diligent in trying to get the storage facility plan signed since, and Eric can probably attest to this, since July of last year. So we
How
can.
far back does that go? I mean, it's been years.
We have an approved site plan
Right.
from the planning board for that project, and so the plans were submitted in July of 2014 for signature to the town. So
And the Tao building is basically a warehouse of cars.
I can sit and go through with you all of
Excuse me,
the attempts
I
that
need to
we've
go back
had
to that.
for it.
That, you're saying the plans for the storage facility have been here, waiting for signature, or departmental signatures?
We've been waiting for signature for quite some time, so it's
Which project?
the Allspace. I think he's talking about the Allspace storage facility.
Point.
Once this board approves plans, it does take quite a while to get plans signed. So there is a lengthy process, but I'm happy to sit with you and go over. I have a massive file for the Tau Labs project, and I can talk to you about the attempts that we've made to lease the property.
I'm sure, but still, it's still the same Page ownership.
Right.
That I'm concerned about, that has projects that have not been brought to fruition.
Yeah. He's right. And can I jump in?
Sure.
July 2014, this is now February 2015. If there are conditions that have been met, therefore you don't get my signature, because departmental signatures haven't been forthcoming. Why haven't those conditions been met?
It's probably a discussion better to have offline.
Okay,
and
but I'm
we
just
can
saying
do
that I can see where he's coming from.
But
Because you come in with urgency, don't take this personally, to get stuff done, and then it languishes because we can't, the conditions don't get met for whatever reason. And you're right, we're not going to discuss on that particular application why. It just seems kind of strange.
I think there's more to it, and again, it's probably not for discussion
Okay,
at
and that's fair.
this application, and I'm happy to sit with both of you and just clear it up.
Okay. My suggestion on this, because I'm on the fence, to be honest with you, I'd like to get an estimate. I agree with what Peter said with respect, what's the bond going to be, or whatever mechanism that is, how many trees, blah, blah, blah. Take a couple of weeks. Put this together, put the numbers together, review it, let the town engineer review it, see if he concurs with it. We'll call a special meeting if necessary. Okay? Before the end of this month or the beginning of next month, whatever it takes, to review a more complete discussion, if you will, to act on it. I mean, that's kind of where I'm at this point. That's my statement. Joe?
I have no comment. I just don't understand why other projects got involved with this project. I know it's the same owner, but I just don't, I mean,
Well, why is
they have a good business reputation in town. They do well to the community. I just don't.
So do a lot of other ones that have gone after land contour changes.
I mean, to me, land contour is, that's the only way you have to explore the property by cutting the trees and get to know what, you get into. There's other properties also that they.
True, but that's not the situation here.
Okay, I'm just.
Okay, you're right. Sometimes you have to in order to get in there, but that's already been done.
There are other properties in the town that they started and never finished. We should do the same thing. We should go after them as well. There's 2 properties that I know that started.
Well, listen, I mean, I don't want to get off the subject, but there's nothing to say that once this board approves a site plan, that the developer doesn't, they could just walk away from it too. The approval expires, and if they do nothing, it just goes away.
But what I'm trying to say is that if they do something wrong, we are the owners to say to them, listen, you got to repair what you did, otherwise we're not approving anything else. So that's.
Well, that's what's not getting concrete right now.
Right.
That's
Is what I
the problem.
suggested reasonable?
Well, I think that I couldn't really object to that at the moment, so we'll certainly do that and get it back to you. I mean, I understand your fear and your risk. I think I sit at a different side of the table, and I think that the developer has been very responsive, and we've been very diligent. I think a lot of the stuff that goes on behind the scenes and the level of effort really isn't reflected at these board meetings. So there's just been a tremendous amount of work.
And you're probably right, but we sit here on an evening and we have to
I
review all this
understand.
stuff.
You're getting snippets of what's
Exactly.
occurring
So
behind
if
the
we can
scenes.
get
Yeah.
this package a little bit better with some of the information, okay, I think the board would be more comfortable, discussing this and then
yeah.
going ahead and saying, yes, I think that's a good idea.
Just so I can summarize, and I apologize for getting in here late, but the concern of the overall board or the majority of the board is that you want some better understanding of what the restoration bond would include and what the restoration plan would look like in order for you to proceed.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Okay.
Very good.
That would make us feel more comfortable.
Understood.
Good. Okay. Does that sound fair to everybody? Okay, good. Good discussion. Thank you.
Do we need a motion just to adjourn this application?
No. Because it was just on here as a discussion.
Okay. Okay, and so what we'll do then is work with you on whether or not we need to set up or if we can request a special meeting. We'll see where we get with the restoration bond and so forth.
Exactly.
Very good.
Kelly, I sympathize with them. They have to put up with the bat requirements and so on and so forth, but it's all part of the law. And to me, the town shouldn't have to take the risk. The developer has to take the risk.
Okay. Now, Dahlia site plan. Seeker review, recommendation to town board for rezoning and site plan review for proposed rezoning of 5 parcels from R20 residence single family, 20,000 square feet, to RM residence multifamily and senior housing overlay district known as a SHOD. And subsequent site plan approval for 4 senior housing and 2 mixed-use buildings, total of 84 dwelling units and 10,124, give or take, square feet non-residential. Sophia's Way and Violet Avenue lots and 35 Violet Avenue zoned R20, resident single family, 20,000 square feet, 7.01 acres. Unlisted action, Linda E. Deli.
Thank you. I'm Kelly Leibelt with KRC.
Ken Casamento with LRC.
I think we were before you last month, or it was maybe 2 months ago, at which time we presented the plan. There was a lot of discussion about the building layouts, parking, driveway, sidewalks, landscaping, access, and so forth. And all those comments we took in, I think the board was pretty favorable with respect to the layout of the building. Subsequent to our meeting, we went back and addressed what I think is all of the comments that we received from the consultants and the board. We also prepared a submission to the health department, so trying to tie that review in to the town and the town engineer's review at the same time. We are scheduling a meeting with DOT to go over the access. I've tried to do that for a few days, and because of the weather and just a schedule, we've been unable to do that, but we're going to pursue that meeting with DOT. The action in front of DOT is the amended, or the driveway permit, some of the landscaping that's along 9G, and there's a stormwater discharge point on 9G. I think we have nearly gotten to a plan that should hopefully meet your needs. The only substantial change to the plan since you last saw it relative to the footprint and the square footage was we corrected the size of the community room. I'm not sure if everyone recalls, but at the last meeting, Liz appropriately identified to everyone that we hadn't met the non-residential square footage in order to receive the density bonus, and there was an error on the plans relative to the size of the community room, so that's been corrected. I think that the consultants provided us with their comments, which are fairly de minimis, but I'm happy to get any additional questions or comments that you have tonight. You're welcome.
Eric?
Sure. Yeah, actually, we've been talking a lot with the applicant and with Liz Axelson of Mars Associates, who's prepared a planning review. So Liz, why don't you take it?
So, we did our review, looked at it according to the SHOD supplemental requirements. And a lot of comments were addressed, which is very helpful. The EAF and the narrative provided a lot of support in terms of showing that the purposes of the SHOD and the RM zoning were supported by the comprehensive plan and the proposed development. And of course, the 10,125 square feet of non-residential, non-retail basically matched up with the proposed 84 apartments. And I note that the town zoning administrator didn't have any more comments, and that was one of her main concerns. So the proposed development is eligible for 2.5 dwelling units per acre, or 84 dwelling units. The way that I've structured my review is to say that after you open a public hearing in March, you may be ready to consider a recommendation to the town board on the RM rezoning and the Senior Housing Overlay District, the SHOD designation. I know that there were still, even though I think the application is ready, it would be nice to have the applicant shed some light on a couple of comments, a couple of key comments under my zone change and plan review comments. One of the concerns is phasing plan that demonstrates how the non-residential, non-retail would match up with the number of units. And we kind of discussed a scenario in-house, so if you could come up with something, and so I don't know if it's, I know that they will not be able to meet the application deadline for the March meeting, but maybe be prepared to discuss these items at the March meeting.
Very good.
And the other issue that was of concern, I know the planning board has other concerns as well. Anything you can do to give us a clue about what the 4,000 square foot occupancies would be, or what you're looking for, what you're focusing on, that would help. And then I had some commentary on parking, which basically says that it looks like the demographic multipliers you use to predict 101 residents makes sense. I looked at older demographic multipliers for apartments for regular units versus senior housing. So what you projected for population, I think makes sense. So what I'm saying now is take a look at shared parking credits and demonstrate parking sufficiency, and also consider visitors, that kind of thing. Really revisit it. Joe, Dennis, and I kind of looked at the plan, and we could see how you could fit more parking on site if you had to, or where you could locate parking that might be deferred. So if you could just re-examine that and come back.
And we'll present that at the, do you want that for discussion at the?
Yeah, that would be
Okay.
my suggestion,
Those
so
are
at
the
least.
three of your list, those are the
That'd be,
that we'll address.
that'd be land bank parking, or just?
Right, like
potential future
deferred or land bank parking.
Yeah, if I could just jump, some of the things that staff has talked about with Liz, and Neil and I have talked, I don't know how much he caught up with you on some of this, but.
We had a snippet today, yeah.
Yeah, I think for most of this discussion has to do with site plan. And this has yet to go to the town board for rezoning.
Right.
So a lot of that can come later. Of the three things that Liz mentioned, the one we have talked that may well be relevant to the planning board's recommendation to the town board would have to do with the phasing. Because that issue concerns the balance of the commercial versus the residential, and the rezoning request is for the senior housing overlay district. So that one in particular, you may want to prepare something in advance of the March 19th meeting with for staff to look at and prepare the board for, so that they have it before, in advance of the meeting.
Okay, but understand that we can't make the submission deadline, but we'll get that to you before the meeting. That's what you're saying.
When can you make it?
Unfortunately, I haven't looked at a calendar to see when the submission deadline is for the March meeting. You
Even, I was,
indicated
yeah, I
it's
was gonna
Monday.
say,
Okay.
a narrative.
Monday.
Yeah, I think we're talking about pretty much that one
Narrative.
issue, because that would be
Let me see
relevant.
if I can make it for Monday. I'll see if I can pull that off
Okay.
and get it in.
Okay.
And just the narrative. So that's the one item is that issue, is the
Yeah.
phasing.
In my
Yeah.
opinion,
Yeah.
that would be most
And
relevant.
the other are more
Yes.
site plan issues. Okay.
Right, and some of it is the comfort factor on parking, even though I feel like rightly that is a site plan issue, but
But I think
It'd be
the
nice
board
if-
may have other questions or
Understood.
issues to address for March. And,
Understood.
they should have that discussion
Yep,
tonight.
but that phasing is important.
Very good.
Just question, this is all taxable.
Correct. Yes. This is not.
It's gonna be fire
not-profit.
taxes,
Correct.
school
It's a
taxes.
fully taxing, paying
There's no-
entity.
There's a letter that came out at 6:30 this evening from Fairview Fire. Yes, from their attorney, so it's pretty much just, I'm not
Very
gonna
good.
comment.
I'll
but
get a copy of
You
it.
need to look at the letter.
And I also think, well, the planning board's probably gonna comment on this, but I know there were concerns about how is this development really adapted for senior housing? So, any elaboration you can give on that, elevators, things like that.
Oh, sure. I mean, I can
I
run
think
through
it's,
that
I
really
think
quick.
it's a wonderful project for,
Just as a subset, we did meet with the fire department, just so everyone is aware on all the technical components. So that was done prior to the submission.
Correct.
So this reflects turning movements, location of fire hydrants, all of the things that they asked for from a technical nature on this submission that you have in front of you.
they want to work, they said they want to work with it, but there's,
Fair enough. Just want to make
we've
sure you knew
heard this
that.
before.
Yep.
Okay, I think that the project itself is, it's a good project. Got a lot of nice components to it, in my mind. At any rate, let me go around where we leave off last time. Start with Peter?
Elevator, we just mentioned, will these have elevators, these buildings?
They are, too. Is that building, or that work? Go ahead.
Currently, the only building, the two buildings, E and F, have elevators. And these buildings, albeit they're 3 stories, the way they operate is all of the units on the first floor are first floor units. There's 1 story step to the second floor unit, which is a 2-story unit. So you're going up to your first floor, basically you're walking up 1 flight of stairs, and that's in your kitchen. And then upstairs would be their personal bedrooms. So these units here are 3 stories tall, but it's really a 2-story unit, first
Yes.
floor unit is on grade
The
level.
second unit is really like a little townhouse type.
Correct, correct. So all the units have accessible units in them. Building A and B has 1 accessible unit in each particular one, mainly because of the fact that there's the commercial component on those, on the first floor. Buildings D and C each have 3 accessible units in that first floor. And then all of building E and F, because of the elevators are there, are accessible units. So total on the site, there are 84 units, but there's 58 of them are accessible, handicap accessible units.
But so in building C and building D, you would have direct access to the first floor.
Correct. Each of their units have direct
But
access.
the upstairs units would be like a townhouse.
Correct.
Yes.
So you would have actually 2 flights of stairs. You would have 1 flight to get up to your unit, a second flight to get up to your bedroom.
Correct. The second. So as a percentage, I mean, we're almost 70% accessible on the site to the total number of units.
You have 58 accessible units, but you're including the townhouse units as part of the accessible units?
No,
No.
because they're not handicapped. 58 accessible units, including each of these two, because they're all accessible. And then the first 4 units in these buildings here.
Those would be the 26 walk-up?
Yes.
Yes. There's 23 units, there's 23 units and 27 units in these 2 buildings. And then there's 3, 3, 1, and 1.
Yeah. I think the elevator is great, but my concern is, according to the last census in Dutchess County, the age group 55, I think, to 59 is 21,000 people. From 59 to 75 is 43,000 people, almost double that number.
People?
And probably between 1 and 4 and 2 and 4 have either arthritis in their hip or in their knees. So that's my concern about stairs and having this be compatible with the population that you're looking to serve. I think it's a great idea for this location. I think it fits very well there. My concern is it addressing the needs of the people that it's designed to accommodate with the stairs?
Well, I had gone over this before, but maybe not as deep as I should have, but we met.
I remember that
conversation.
conversation.
The Office of the Aging, and it was actually a very good meeting. So perhaps we can get some more insight from them, but they loved the project. They loved the amenities and so forth, and I think it's easy to remember when you think of it as a senior housing, but it's really 55 and older, and so
I understand
I'm not that
55
far from
goes a long
55.
way.
Yeah.
Come on, Kelly.
So
Kelly.
I would certainly
You got a
walk
ways
up
to go.
steps to go into these facilities, and I think sometimes people like it because it's exercise. So
My concern is this, okay, let's say grandma comes home carrying 2 bags of groceries and she gets to her house and she has to walk up a flight of stairs. 50%, this is from the Center for Disease Control, 50% of adults 65 or older have reported an arthritis diagnosis. I just want to make sure that the buildings, all of them, the way they're designed, is going to address the ability of the people that you want to serve.
well, I think that's always a difficult prediction to make, but I feel like we have done that in meeting with the representatives of Office of the Aging, who probably have a better perspective of it from that than I do, really liked the project, and she thought that it was a
The project looks great.
But as far as the layout of the units, we went over the units and the stairs and the number of accessible units, and they liked the project in total.
50% of adults 65 or older, according to the Center for Disease Control, report arthritis diagnosis.
Yeah, I'm not sure I'm going to be able to answer
Okay.
your question, so I
No, I don't want you, I'm
understand
not
that.
expecting
Yeah.
you to.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to make, we're having a discussion here. This is going to be a senior housing project. I want to make sure it addresses the needs of that population.
And I think we do. I
And for
think
your
we have.
benefit as well.
Sure.
Because if people don't want to climb 2 flights of stairs, they're not going to live there.
Right.
And that's not going to help you. That's all I have.
Thank you. Carl?
I think you've come up with a good layout of the buildings, added sidewalks and things that where they need to be. The only sidewalk suggestion I have is, I see it it's where you have a crosswalk kind of going right into a landscaped island, and I don't have my pointer pen, but in front of
In the front to
front
the
of
middle.
building F. I was wondering if that could be straighter in the front there where you first pointed.
This here?
Yeah, that there goes kind of.
There's a missed thing here.
There's a mist, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Looking at it right now, yes.
Looking at the
there's a
landscape
sidewalk
plan,
missing
that
right
comes
there.
right into a tree or something,
Yes,
so.
yes, no. It's
That's
missing
just
over the
just a
sidewalk
little
piece there.
over, and then.
Apologize for that.
And up in the front there where you first pointed, I didn't know if there could be a straighter to the building, between the commercial and the senior center building
Well,
D.
for grading purposes, this is where the handicap accessibility works out because of
Okay, I
ADA compliance. So we wanted to utilize the crosswalk there rather than trying to retake another spot to have a crosswalk next to a crosswalk.
I'm
And
saying
this
that's
way,
fine there, but.
It also promoted.
Then it
these-
goes that way, can that be straighter up to building D?
I mean, either way, if you go across, it's gonna be across that way. We felt it was easier to come across here with a turn movement and then, well, someone stopped, then cross across
Okay.
there. That was the reasoning behind the locations.
All right, I just
Um,
think people are gonna be cutting across the parking lot there from building
There
D.
probably will be someone that walks
Either
across,
way.
you know what I mean, but they always kind of walk across them.
And I guess the last piece of sidewalk over in the, I think the county mentioned it too, the front,
This?
and the front all the way to, yeah, that side, that's right up against the road without a buffer, and that, is there a topography issue there that?
Well, we've pulled it off the road, the sidewalk.
For the most of it, except for that last segment there. right-
Well,
yeah,
the
right
last
there.
segment is really because we're constrained by a wetland and stormwater
Okay, I was wondering what the
easements that are
constraint was
there.
there.
And knowing that the next property is likely going to go across, right on the road, which the county was requesting, and we felt that we didn't want to kick with the right on the road here and keep with more.
Yeah,
than
generally
that.
you want the buffer, so I'm just
correct.
trying to say,
Based on the
why,
discussion.
why was there no buffer on that?
That's because the
in that
wetland
case?
is there in the
And
culvert.
wetland buffer and
Yeah,
whatnot.
but I'd love to get the board's consensus on this curvilinear versus straight sidewalks. So we can just get an answer on that.
I think it works okay in front of, I mean, it did the same thing in front of Oakwood Commons.
I like
in that
it.
area.
Yeah, that's what we
And
were trying to
because
mimic.
it meanders around the
Correct.
landscaping in that
Yeah.
area.
Okay.
I mean, if you're in a more city environment, you want it to get straight from one place to another, but.
Right. And we have a
It's
big
okay
area
there.
there that we can really do that. We have an opportunity that we can do that there. I meaning big area, meaning deep, deep area. Okay.
Ben?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, were you done?
I did have one more comment. There's, I guess I see sidewalks toward the back are labeled as stone dust, and I didn't know if there was a maintenance plan for that, or
Yeah,
try to shovel snow off.
Kill my thunder.
this stone dust sidewalk is really.
Were you gonna say that?
You gotta leave some for Ed to say.
I didn't hear
Okay,
you.
go
What
ahead,
was
Ed,
it?
go ahead.
Or
He's
maybe I
stealing my
should.
thunder.
Oh, all right. Do you want to wait?
Never
You can do
mind,
it
go ahead.
again, Ed. Do it again.
I think the stone dust would be great right underneath the pavers.
You think so? The stone dust originated as a walking path throughout the whole complex, if everyone remembers how this started. And
Right.
so the board asked us to provide concrete sidewalks for the residents from the front to the back. So there was a hardscape surface for everyone to walk 12 months out of the year. The stone dust path has remained stone dust because we thought it would be nice to have a non-hardscape area for people to walk, albeit probably not 12 months out of the year. It's really intended to be an area where people can walk 10 months out of the year on a softer surface. It's similar to what you see on Dutchess County Rail Trail, which people seem to like. I don't think that there's any intention of shoveling that in the winter. I think it's really intended to be a 10-month area. It's a walking path. It's not required.
It's recreational.
It's just
Correct.
recreational. That's all that it was. And so I
Kelly,
really
my-
would
My
hate.
concern, of course, is that stone dust will wash away. I
Well,
saw it
it's-
at Locust Grove, year after year, you had to replace it, you gotta maintain it. It's a tremendous maintenance requirement to really keep stone dust in place. So, and even pea gravel is another problematic one. I mean, I like the idea of the paths being there.
Mhm.
I'm just worried about the maintenance aspect, and,
Okay.
I mean, that is kind of a hilly area too, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, we had designed it so that it was really just like timbers, kind of natural timbers on both sides
Yeah.
that were holding that stone dust in. So I've seen that, at Young Morse, at other paths that they use, and that was really what we were trying to mimic. Is this one of those no good deed
I can
goes
vouch
unpunished?
for Locust Grove ever
So-
well, from a maintenance standpoint.
That was our intent. If it becomes such an issue, then we'll take it off the plan and, and get rid of it, because
Well,
I think
I
it's.
think you're providing a nice environmental path.
That's what it was
And that's the
intended.
intent.
Yeah, right.
Now,
It just may require more maintenance
cost-wise,
than you think.
Right.
and then it gets to the aspect of the cost of maintenance versus the cost of design.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I'd hate to switch it
who's
to
in
a
charge of the
hardscape.
maintenance of this?
The owners of the property.
Yeah, that's what I'm worried about.
Yeah.
Well, wouldn't that be a map note or something that says they gotta maintain a property? Well, we know they're always there, but According to the site plan, it has to be maintained.
At any rate, and there are elevators in this building, and there was some confusion about that. I would also like to see as much lighting as possible for that senior area back there. I saw your photometric layout and so forth. There might be some areas that you could brighten up a bit.
In the back? Is that what you're talking?
Maybe in the back, and also the parking area, getting around at night. Again, I'm thinking about, like Peter, the senior resident community kind of thing. Those of us who are over 70 and can't see that well anymore with the cataracts and so on. I'm talking about Marv. Not hero, I can say that, right?
Hope he's not
watching. He called me and wanted me to get that in, by the way.
Oh, he did? Okay, good. He made sure that you had that comment?
Yeah.
I'm sure he's watching.
And the other thing
I'll be
that, yeah, the other thing that's rather confusing is that the architectural plans and the site plan in terms of entrances and so forth don't match.
They should. We double checked,
Well,
triple
you got-
checked, quadruple checked.
What are those two bump outs in
It's the doors.
buildings E and F? Right?
Elevators.
Well, if I look at the architectural plans,
It doesn't show. No, it's the doorway.
Does it not show the
That's the entrance, and then that's the only other
So that's the bump out?
so that's it. So what do you have? An internal pathway that goes around and so forth and gets to an elevator? How many elevators per building?
One.
One in each building.
One.
And they only go
So-
up and down.
They're not them.
You've been in the sun too long. What good is the back entrance? Is that an emergency exit?
It
That's
may, maybe a code
Yes.
requirement.
Right, I believe it's
Probably a
code
code
requirement, from what I remember having the conversation with LNV.
It's what? Just
Code
an-
requirement.
A code requirement for
exit.
egress.
Yeah, probably, that makes sense.
To have a secondary means of egress.
Fire.
And they're both in the middle of the building,
Ambulance.
nothing on the end.
Correct.
Okay. Let me take on buildings A and B, and first of all, when I look at the architectural drawings, what is the Violet Avenue side?
Oh,
It
he
says
wants to
front
see which is
elevation A
which.
and B.
This is the Violet Avenue side. Sorry. The glass entrance is the storefront side, and this is the back parking lot side.
Two of these might be the entrance, and that's just side views.
Correct.
Okay.
The double door with one being the operating door.
Okay. Phasing, as Liz has said, is very important. And lastly, you've got a contour situation there for those two buildings that are, I'm trying to remember, C and D. Any possibility of designing into the hills so that you're not dealing with 3 flights, you're only dealing with 2? You follow me? In looking at the house that sits up there today, I mean, that's
Yep.
way up there on a hill.
Mm-hmm.
And I was wondering if you could come up with possibly a design that takes out one of the floors from an accessibility standpoint, so that you come in on that level, the middle level, and you go one up and one down.
Well, if you did that, you would come in, all your accessible apartments would be on the second floor, and then the first floor, which is accessible now, would become inaccessible.
It would only be accessible
Only
from
on
the
one
back.
side.
Plus,
From
they'd
the-
have to go around the back.
Yeah,
They'd
we'd have to go around the back, and we're trying to eliminate,
Rear entrances
disturbance in
over
the
there.
back.
Like Peter, I'm just thinking about,
Bringing home groceries.
I go to my son's townhouse, I hate it. I mean,
There
it's-
might be a
there's
reason
steep
that he bought
stairs.
that. Sorry, just had to say it. I just had to say it.
I got 3 levels and I'm, all that was available in the town.
Is that a no-mo, Ed?
There really is a need for housing
Needs.
like this. There is, as I'm sure.
See what you can do.
I mean, as far as that, and I understand what Peter's saying is, but if you look at, senior housing, you have a husband and wife. I go to my aunt, my uncle, they have nothing in the refrigerator. they hardly go to shopping, because they're by themselves. They probably go out to eat every single day, so it's not much like, my family, when we go, bring, shopping to.
It's not a question of the food, it's a health issue. That's the issue that I'm raising. I mean, using it just as an example, carrying the groceries, but you have people who have serious joint issues as they age. Whenever you have a staircase involved, it's an issue. That's the reason why I raised it. It wasn't about the groceries.
Right, no, but even so, I mean,
Well,
you go to the Galleria Mall at 6 o'clock in the morning, you have so many people walking around. Maybe, I'm not trying to say, you're right, probably in that category, that I'm not going to take the stairs and take the elevator. But it could be a good, healthy project, just to walk stairs.
I don't think people with those ailments are going to be candidates to rent those places.
Right.
Which could limit them in their appeal.
They would be only if they were more accessible. I mean, the accessibility is the issue here. And I think when you look at the population, is why I brought up the numbers, some of the Center Disease Control, the census numbers. I mean, this is the population, really. These types of projects are supposed to be addressing, and that's why I brought those issues up, for those reasons only.
I mean, they probably could have a choice for people to pick and choose, like apartments, it could be.
Which
but,
we do.
I mean, I'm
Yeah,
not.
yeah.
The only question I have was, Kelly, is there a basement here? Where's all the mechanicals going to go? Is there a basement in this building? So just.
There is no basement. I think that we'll have, Mike has that on the drawings, that we have common areas.
I know it's
or chase
premature, just
areas.
question.
Yeah.
There's mechanical rooms.
Had an idea.
There are mechanical rooms?
Yes.
Down, okay.
Correct.
I have an idea.
Oh, boy. Go ahead.
Based on what Peter said, one of the things you might want to consider, and a lot of people have, and it's become very popular, are installing these lifts that go upstairs. The seat you sit on, it goes up and around the corner. Design is such that the stairwell is a little bit wider to accommodate that, should someone ever want to put something like that in, or should you? The standard, it may be a little narrow, so it may be a little wider, and I don't know how big it would be, but to accommodate that, that may be
There's a whole set of design criteria that's out there. It's
Yeah.
for senior living.
something to think about.
I mean,
That wasn't so bad, was it?
Point out also that, 75% of the units are accessible, still, so it's not a majority, but minority.
Something came to mind, getting back to the stone dust. They put some kind of pavers down in the upper landing park by the walkway elevator. That's really nice, doesn't look like it requires any maintenance. And I don't know what they do, but it feels soft to walk on.
Where is that then?
An upper landing park in the city of
Okay,
Poughkeepsie.
yep, I know where you are.
Take
Yep.
a look at it. Right by where they put the new elevator to go up
Sure.
to the walkway.
Okay.
And I know the company that did that.
Is it any good?
Nice stuff. Oh, you did it? Okay.
Oh, well, in that case, I don't know. What is that? What is that material?
It's a secret. We
Could have suggested.
Oh.
Yeah.
It's really nice stuff.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good
Like
point.
a floating floor.
Okay, so, if you're in agreement, I think that the recommendation makes sense.
John, one question I meant to ask. I think I asked this when we were looking at the building on Route 9, Old Post Road, the 7-story building. And that is, what procedure does the town have in place to ensure that the units in senior housing are rented only to qualified tenants? In other words, it must be 55 years or older.
I don't think the town has anything like that. I think some of that depends upon how the financing goes, right?
Well, it's
Mind if
projects for
I chime in a little bit? I think there are limits to that age restriction. I don't know how it's defined.
It's defined in
In
the
town
town, Poughkeepsie, for SHOD, age-related, it's 55 years age-related, or it's 55 years assisted living. This project, I'm assuming, is 55 years age-related. So that they definitely would have to be 55 years or older, according to the way the SHOD has been written.
Right.
My question is,
How do you, that's,
what procedure is there in place to ensure that only qualified people 55 years or older
are
renting those spaces?
what is that mechanism? I don't know.
I mean, I suppose you could ask for another agreement, but there's also, if you're creating accessible units, there's also the dilemma of somebody wanting to come in who is under 55, I don't think they could come in here because there are other units available to them. But it's also possible for somebody who's 55 plus, who's maybe the primary renter, to have a household member that's under 55.
That should be spelled out.
Right.
I was saying, you could have grandkids sometimes. and-
Well, that happens too, but typically that's a private management issue.
There was,
Think.
I think on, what are the apartments on the corner of,
Kendall.
Sharon Drive.
Sharon Drive and Route 9.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I think, I don't recall specifically, but there was, I think the same question came up there. I don't recall precisely whether and what mechanism was required in that case, but one of the discussions was that the management, was that there be a restriction requiring that something
But
be in the
Lexington-
lease agreement.
Lexington Park.
So there are, that suggests to me that there are mechanisms available to the town board as a condition of the SHOD. There may be such mechanisms, for example, requiring something to go into lease agreements or some kind of a
Well,
covenant.
that's certainly a question that you need to explore to find out what.
I can tell you.
How that works.
The town of Fishkill wrote into their senior housing law about a decade ago, and they have a whole set of procedural steps to follow, including documentation that goes from the building owner to the town for every lease or sale. It's a document that's signed by the tenant and by the leasing agent or owner, and it's kept on file with the town.
Well,
So
maybe
you
that's
might want to
something-
check their ordinance.
Right, Maybe Mr. Wallace can look into that for us and see
I will
what.
provide a senior housing composition for the next meeting.
Okay. That'd be good. She'll share that with the applicant. Good, thank you. Any other comments?
I mean, with that, if they market it as senior living and then they put the age restriction, they should go by what, they market.
They should.
Yeah.
But you know what?
But we don't have the power or the.
The
town
words of
doesn't-
Mikhail Gorbachev, trust but verify.
Or seeing is believing.
Yeah.
Or the proof is in the pudding.
That's right. Okay. No, we gotta
It's
make
been a
some.
long night.
Okay, I move the planning board set a public hearing on the site plan for this, the Dahlia project for March 19th, 2015. Is that date acceptable?
No, I
We're
won't
good
be
with
here.
that? I don't either.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Yeah, good. I can't second it because I won't be here.
Have a second. Moved and seconded that the planning board set a public hearing on the site plan for March 19th, 2015. Well, the question, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. I move the planning board direct staff to prepare draft resolutions for the March 19th meeting as follows. The secret negative deck, 1, I, and double I, or 2, a positive recommendation to the town board regarding a change of zone to the RM zoning district and a SHOD designation for this project with conditions. And, okay, and that was it. That's that one.
Second?
Been moved and seconded. Call the question. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. And I move that the planning board defer action on the conclusion of seeker review, recommendation to the town board, and the proposed change of zone to the RM district and the SHOD designation, and the site plan application, direct the applicant to respond to comments to the planning board and those received from town. I gotta turn the page. From town departments and agencies, including but not limited to 1 through 12. Or as Liz did it, I through XII.
So sorry, I keep forgetting to change that.
That's okay, I can do it. No problem. Aye. Okay. It's moved and seconded. Call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. That was a good discussion. I think some
Thank
good
you.
points,
good.
all kidding aside, some
Yeah,
very
that
good
was
points
good.
came out of this, so that was good.
Thank you.
Just make some of the sidewalks moving like they do in the airports.
Oh, of course, the magic carpets, yes,
Especially in the ice.
yes, of course.
Works on the ski slope.
Any other,
Thank you.
any other business before the board? Okay, in that case, I make a motion, we terminate the meeting, as Rich was saying. Second, call the question. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries 6-0. Thank you, everyone.